All right there. Now I am absolutely shafted. Let me get a bit of colour in my cheeks. I'm absolutely shafted, and I thought I helped my missus move in the end. 4 or 5 flights of stairs. Now we did pay the tuk-tuk driver, as you. How much do you reckon we paid the tuk-tuk driver? Come on, you've been around here enough. A lot of you have been around here enough times to know pretty much, oh God, how much we paid the tuk-tuk driver. Go on. Let's get those suggestions in. We had 2 tuk-tuk drivers. We give them the same amount each to take everything up 4 flights of stairs. Well, 8 flights of stairs to get to the... for $5. There you go. There you go. Absolutely lovely. And I thought, you know what? Oh, come on, Moslab. You've been around here long enough. Of course, it's $5. $5. And I thought, you know what? I can't do a stream. I've got nothing in me. I can't invent anything. I can't. And then I thought, you know what? I'll read something of someone else's. And I'm going to read something that's a very important novel to me. So we'll get the little music introduction out the way. I'll get some water sorted out. I'll have a whiz. I'll wash my hands, come back, and you can get a cup of tea. You can sit back, and I'll give you a little bit of background, my relationship to this novel and this writer, and then we'll crack on. So yeah, here's a bit of music. You've all heard it before, of course, and let's just make sure I got the audio on again, and we'll see if we can have a very relaxing Wednesday evening read along with Chris. Well, you won't read along with me, but listen along with Chris. So I hope you enjoy it. Give me 2 minutes. Music's still playing. Well, this should be fun. It should be a slightly different approach. You know, shake it up a bit, mix it up a bit. Let me just sort out my. Let me just sort out the Twitch and the grift. Let me just sort out a few things. Right. Hello, Rags. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. I am so tired. I have been burning the candle at every end. I just threw the whole candle into. I got a blowtorch to the candle, but that's all right. That's all right. Work's been busy. I've been writing my novel. Been doing a lot of streams. I've been helping the girlfriend move. I went out on the piss. That's the real one that's killed me. But you know, crack on, didn't you? Keep going. Got to keep going, mate. You know how it works. Right, that's that sorted out. That is the old Twitcheroony sorted out. Let me just get this sorted out. Hang on. 1 second. Hang on. Get the grift sorted quickly and we're good to go. So yeah, this will be somewhat a different stream. I'm sure a few of you will be chatting in the in the chat, but where's that noise coming from? Oh, it's there in the chat. But some of you, what I would advise you to do, if you're not familiar with Bukowski, I would suggest you just chill out, relax, cup of tea, and just have a listen and enjoy. I'm really into this writer, and I'm going to tell you a little story about him before, tell you how I got into him, and tell you how relevant he is in my life, and in my life not only as a man, but also as a writer, because believe me, he influenced me in both areas. So the grift goes like this, I think, today. Lovely. Well, no doubt we're a few of them. Right, so, Jared's not familiar. That's all right. I mean, he didn't write many novels. I think he only wrote about 7 novels. What? Ham on Rye, Factotum, Post Office, Women. I can't even think of the other 2. He wrote a lot of books of poetry though. Tales of a Three-Legged Man. Confessions of a Three-Legged Man. Tales of Ordinary Madness. Wrote a lot of books of poetry. And what's interesting about Bukowski is he pulled it off. You know, he was a drunk, and he was a drunk who wrote poems and didn't care for much. And you know, in the late 70s and early 80s, to try and make a living as a poet, and he weren't a poet as in, you know, think about the poetry in the late 70s and early 80s. Just fucking crap. Just crap. You know, the starts of social justice, you know, the sort of tail end of modernism, feminists basically. And you've got this old pisshead who goes around fucking people and you know, largely a misanthrope, but strangely has a love for life. And he pulled it off. You know, he became very famous, made a fair amount of money, spunked it all at the horse racing and on prostitutes, but a very interesting character. And so what happened to me before, this ain't going to go on for ages, people. It's going to take about 5 minutes, me telling you the story. Let's just get the grift out of the way. All right, there, you can support this channel. There you go. That's exactly what you can do. Margin Walker dropped £3 into Entropy and said, Bukowski did so much for me too, Danger. Ham on Rye and Hot Water Music are my favourite works of his. Nice one, Margin Walker. Well, Bukowski was a man. Bukowski was masculine. Bukowski saw what was happening to men. He saw what was happening to the men of his era. And he could compare them to the men of his father's era. And rather than just sort of go, I don't know about this, He said, no, fuck it. I'm going to be a man. I'm really going to be a man though. I'm going to get all those masculine things and I'm going to ramp them up to the limit. And then of course he was a failure with women. It's actually a myth that Bukowski was a success with the women. I mean, they threw themselves at him because he was a famous, he was an alcoholic and he was a poet, and women like those kind of, mythological sort of, the beat characters. They love them, didn't they? But he was, he could barely fuck. He was pretty much impotent. The geese used to wake up and puke. First thing he done in the morning was puke, then have a shower to get the puke off him, and then get out of the shower, have a fifth of whiskey, and then puke that up. I mean, not the most attractive kind of thing you can do. Hello, deadbeat Chess, you poorly octopus. Great call. Thank you, Mr. Chess. Well, this is lovely. There I've been complaining about donations, and you decide to read a bit of Bukowski, and bosh, here's 2 bob here, testing the new card. The new card works. Actually, I don't know if it does work. It might work for £2. Maybe try 20. I'll let you know if it's working. Chris Holloway, hello, you love. Nice one, Chris. Appreciate. But the geezer was upset with what was happening to America. He could see it happening, and he gave up on it. He gave up on America, but he refused to give up on himself. And talk about a bundle of contradictions. Anyway, I published a novel when I was 24, 23, and a couple of the scrubs have read it. I was speeding my tits off when hello, mate, I'm whizzing my tits off. Took me about 2 weeks to write it. It was a vanity project. Sold about 6,000 copies though, which weren't bad. Quite a nice little book. A couple of the scrubs have read it. You can pick them up here and there. They sometimes cost about £200. Not because it's worth £200. It ain't worth 20p, but because of the rarity of it, because it's out of print. But yeah, I did notice that, and I'm having nightmares. I got over 260 fucking emails. I put a thing on the Scrubs Rising and on my Telegram. Ease up, people. Ease up with the emails. If you need help, addiction, depression, any drug problems, family problems, anything where I can help you, I want to be able to give my time to them. But I've got like people sending me 30 emails telling me about their pet rabbit, and it's like, yeah. But look. I published this novel, and it got into Waterstones. And when you're 23 years old and your novel's in Waterstones, and it got a great review in Loaded. Remember Loaded? And it got a great review in ID. People of my age remember ID. Everyone on the cover had one eye shut. That was their thing. God, I can tell you the review that was an ID. It said, what was it? Hang on. Something, deriving Dolesville with 2 perpetually caned skunk growers whose rates of consumption leave them easy pickings for straight society paranoia. Dangerfield knows his niche. The lot of something like drug addict blaggers who do very little but smoke Durban poison and blunts, of which loads here. And you know what I'd done to promote that novel? I made loads of these little postcards, and on the front of them it said, "Dear God, get me 2 ounces of speed, 2 ounces of skunk, and £150 a week, or you're dead." And on the back of it, it had that review that I just read you, and where you could get the novel. And I went into London, and we put about 10,000 of them. We went to the end of all the underground. So we went to like Cockfoster's one end. We went to the end of the Northern Line, end of the Piccadilly line, and we just used to shove them. You know, when you're sitting down, there's those adverts you can see opposite. We just shoved them in those. And a scrub got back to me some point this year. A scrub got back to me and said, "Oi, I've got one of those. I think I've got a photo of it, actually. I'll show you." He said, "I got one of those things from your old advertising." And he went, "And I bought the book. And I was made up, actually, that the advertising worked. I think I've got a photo of it. I won't waste too much time looking for it. If I can't find it on the first pass through, we'll ignore it. But this has got something to do with Bukowski, so I will. I'm just passing through my photos. I'll circle back to it if I can't find it. Yeah, but this has got. There has got a reason. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. I'll tell a lie. That's my beautiful girlfriend. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. It was amazing to have a scrub say that I found that. And this is going back like 30 years. He found it in one of these guerrilla marketing things we've done, and he went and bought the book. The book's a bit jank, but I was 23 and I didn't sleep for the 2 weeks I wrote it. So what do you expect? Anyway, maybe I can't find it. Maybe it's tucked away somewhere on my computer. But if the scrub that found it is watching, let us know. It might be here. 1 second. I've still got a few more photos. Oh, here you go. I found it. So this was the one that was sent to me by a scrub. So that's what it had on the front. That was the front of it. Hang on. Let's see if we can get a focus here. Hang on. Dear God. Oh, come on. Do better than that. Let's see if we can somehow get rid of some of the light. Dear God, get me 2 ounces of skunk, 1/4 ounce of speed, porno times lots, some other things, £150 per week, or you're dead. And on the back of it, like I said, was the review. Geezer called Gary James. This is what he said when he sent it to me on Twitter. There's the tweet. And he said, found this postcard on the tube about 20 years ago, advertising Tired, etc. by C.S. Danger. Found it again this morning. Lent the book to a friend 20 years ago and never got it back. The old classic. But, it must have worked. And another thing we did, me and all the boys in the squat, which is where I was living when we wrote it, we made up about 6 carrier bags of cocaine wraps. The little bindles that you get your cocaine in. It's a little, you make a little square about so big, fold it into a triangle, fold the corners over, fold the top over. So it's like a little cocaine wrap. Inside that, it had the review of the book, the name of the book, and that you could get it in Waterstones or Borders and all that. And we went round London for about 5 days, dropping 2 or 3 of these things into like pub toilets, pub sort of, what do you call it? The entrance, what do you call it? The bit you walk into when the door. And we left them in the sorts of places people might drop their cocaine wrap. So someone's in the toilet at the Groucho Club and they look down, they think, hang on a minute, someone's dropped their coke. They pick it up in the pocket, lovely. Bit later, they open it up and it's an advert for a book. And another good bit of guerrilla marketing. So these are the sort of things I'll be doing this year as well, Illuminatus, for my new book. So that was the kind of things we've done. And when you sell 6,000 copies and you're an unknown author for a book you wrote in 2 months, happy days. Right. I'll get on to all about that. I'll get on to all the stuff that's going on in the all these community posts. Right, now, you don't want to... the weird thing is about the Bumpology sold about 30,000 copies. The Bumpology is a book I wrote about lockpicking technique. The funny thing about being a writer is I love my novels. I'm all about my novels, but a book about lockpicking has done about 40,000 copies. Anyway, now, when that book, Tired, etc., the one I was just talking about with all the little bindles and the things we put in the tubes. Hello, Alan. That was in Waterstones on Charing Cross Road, and at the time there was 3 Waterstones on Charing Cross Road. There was one up near where the marquee used to be. There was one right up near Tin Pan Alley, Denmark Street, and there was one right down the bottom, the other side of Trafalgar Square. So if I took a young lady out into London for the day, I'd take her into Waterstones and just be going, "Oh, should you have a look at, see what new novels are out, my love? Yeah. Oh, what's this one? Oh, is that me? Oh, it looks like me." And I'd sign it. I'd do an autograph in it. And so it was quite cool to be able to have your book in Waterstones and all that. Now, I was in Waterstones once on my own, just because what I used to do was, because I lived just round the corner in Bethnal Green, I'd go into central London every day and make sure my copies of my novel were front and centre, not side on, lost in a fucking, a plethora of spines. I'd have them head on. Or what I'd do is I'd put them on the promotions. If they had like a Martin Amis promotion, I'd put them on there so that they were, and that's why they sold. I'd make it so that people could see them. And sometimes I'd even put some of those little adverts that I just showed you in the bookshops as well, and sometimes in other books. So if people bought other books, they also bought my advert. Lovely. Right. While I was in there once, I see this book called Post Office by Charles Bukowski. And I hadn't read a lot. School put me off reading. They tried to make me read when I was too young. And I found this book, and the blurb on the back said this alcoholic bloke worked at the post office and he hated it. And this is his story of just hating the post office. And there's something about it appealed to me. And I bought it, stole it. I paid for it, nicked it. And when I got home, what absolutely blew me away about it was, I thought, hang on, you can just tell stories. You don't have to be Goethe. You don't have to be Proust. You don't have to be James Joyce. And quite frankly, I don't want to be any of those cunts. Yeah, they've got their place. But I want to tell a story. I want to tell a story. I want to tell a story that my mates would understand. I want to tell a story that the blokes I grew up with would understand, because a bloke done this happened, it failed, this failed, it weren't too good, there are body fluids, life can fuck you up, it ain't great, etc. And I found that in Bukowski's Post Office, and I thought, this is amazing. I thought, this is bloody amazing. TV Dinner MasterChef drops a lady, and he said, "Chris, had a crappy few days and need to feel good about myself. Please find enclosed 30 million real." I think $5 is going to be about 4,000 real, but who knows? Maybe you've put it under my pillow. And if it's 30,000 real, feel free to 30 million real. You're allowed to walk into my bedroom. But that's all you can do, and then you got to walk out. Thank you, TV Dinner MasterChef. Don't worry, this little reading's going to help you. And I just started thinking, it changed the way I approached writing. And then I thought, I'll give another go of one of his other books. So I looked into it, and I said to the bloke behind the jump, I said, "Hello, mate, you horrible hipster cunt who works in Waterstones and probably writes the worst poetry in the world, and you've probably scared at least 6 women away with it already. What book did Bukowski write after post office. And he went, it's called woman. It's called women. And he went, and it's fucking disgusting. Treats women like objects. And I remember thinking, well, what if they want to be treated like objects? Because when I'm being fucked, I like a lady to treat me like a sex object. I don't want a lady to treat me like a friend when I'm having sex with her. I want her to treat me like 6'2" of male muscle with a penis, because that's erotic. And I think that a lot of women want to be treated like sex objects when they're, guess what, being sex objects. So I got older, I had a look at this women and I bought it, nicked it. And it was one of the most amazing books I ever read. I was blown away by it. I was blown away because I was growing up in an era where feminism was telling everyone, even in the early 80s, it was all about, you know, women should be this and men should be this and they're not that different and all this. And I knew that this weren't true. I knew that this was a lie. I knew this was an illusion. And Bukowski proved it to me. Bukowski was like, no, fuck that. I'm a man. I ain't a woman. I'm nothing like a woman. I mean, don't get me wrong. Men and women are about 95% the same. But that 5% difference makes a fuck lot of difference. Codeine and heroin are about 95% the same. But that 5% makes a big fucking difference. You got toothache, have some codeine. You've got toothache, don't have heroin. You get my point. And so my whole approach to storytelling changed. I just understood that it's all right to tell the truth. And it's all right to be who you are. And it's all right to be who you are, even if other people don't like you. Because if other people don't like you, I don't see what the problem is. I'm not interested. You don't like me, no? Ooh. And thanks for putting the effort in to tell me, but can you get out of my way? I'm trying to consider a yogurt. And it's more engaging than what you're trying to tell me. Anyway, so it had quite the effect on me. And to this day, as much as I'm into my Welbeck, you know, and I went off Bukowski for years because I got all up myself. Oh, Bukowski is a bit... And then I rediscovered it in my 40s and thought, you snobby, stupid bastard, Dangerfield. Some of the best fucking American literature ever written. And I am into my David Foster Wallace, and I am into Mikhail Welbeck. But Bukowski's still the one that stands at the top for me. Just for the storytelling. Just for the ability to make a story out of everyday life. Now, if you do donate, I'll deal with them at the end. I'd like you to, though. That would be nice. And I'm going to read. And I'm not a great reader out loud. So if I fuck up, you're just going to have to put up with it. So I'm going to read you about 30 minutes from Charles Bukowski's book, Women. And spoiler alert, it's about women. Charles Bukowski was an alcoholic, gambling degenerate. He used to like to go to the horse racing. He used to like occasionally go to the dog track. Drunk too much. Lived a long old life though. Had a terrible time with women. Unsurprisingly attracted the lunatics because he was a lunatic. I will stop occasionally to have some water. So here we go. Now, where the fuck is it? Speaking of Charles Bukowski's women, where is it? Little pick of the nose there. That ain't it. Oh dear, don't say I've lost it. Hang on. No, don't do this to me. Do not do this to me. I've got it here somewhere, people. Here we go. I gotcha. Right. I will stop for water. I will stop for air, and I will stop for vapes. You're just gonna have to put up with that. I will just deal with my new best friend Meganeza Shan. I am a librarian and I was always jealous of him. Look forward to your reading though. Oh, how nice. Oh no, feel free. Go and rob a copy. But you'll be robbing it from Amazon, so good luck. Oh, thank you, Nicholas. That's a very kind thing to say. But he really did change my life, because he didn't only change my life in terms of me being a writer. He changed my life in terms of how I realized I can engage with other humans. I can actually be myself. That I learned from Bukowski. Right, here we go. And thank you again, Meganesia Shan. Dave T sent me £3. He said, apologies, Chris. I sent you an email about my free trade dramas. Just delete it when you get there. No reply necessary. Great streams, by the way. I'll have a look at it, but, you know. Margin Walker said, Bukowski did much for me too. Ham on Rye and Hot Water Music are my favourites. Oh, we've already seen that one, haven't we? Anyway, here we go. Little pick of the old nose. Little... crispy of the eyes, and here we go. By the way, Charles Bukowski calls himself Henry Chinaski. They're autobiographical works. He just changes his name because he doesn't want to get in trouble, and he says this at the beginning of his of Women. He says, women, many a good man has been put under the bridge by a woman. This novel is a work of fiction, and no character is intended to portray any person or combination of persons, living or dead. Get comfortable, people. I wonder how many people will still be here when I've finished reading a bit and I look at the screen. We've got 169 at the moment. I reckon it'll be down to about 90. I was 50 years old and hadn't been to bed with a woman for 4 years. I had no women friends. I looked at them as I passed them on the streets or wherever I saw them, but I looked at them without yearning and with a sense of futility. I masturbated regularly, but the idea of having a relationship with a woman, even on non-sexual terms, was beyond my imagination. I had a 6-year-old daughter born out of wedlock. She lived with her mother and I paid child support. I'd been married years before at the age of 35. That marriage lasted 2.5 years. My wife divorced me. I had been in love only once. She died of acute alcoholism. She died at 48 when I was 38. My wife had been 12 years younger than I. I believe that she too is dead now, although I'm not sure. She wrote me a long letter each Christmas for 6 years after the divorce. I never responded. I'm not sure when I first saw Lydia Vance. It was about 6 years ago, and I'd just quit a 12-year job as a postal clerk and was trying to be a writer. I was terrified and drank more than ever. I was attempting my first novel. I drank a pint of whiskey and 2 6-packs of beer each night whilst writing. I smoked cheap cigars and typed and drank and listened to classical music on the radio until dawn. I set a goal of 10 pages a night, but I never knew until the next day how many pages I'd written. I'd get up in the morning, vomit, then walk to the front room to look on the couch to see how many pages were there. I always exceeded 10. Sometimes there were 17, 18, 23, 25 pages. Of course, the work of each night had to be cleaned up or thrown away. It took me 21 nights to write my first novel. The owners of the court where I then lived, who lived in the back, thought I was crazy. Each morning when I awakened, there'd be a large brown paper bag on the porch. The contents varied, but mostly the bags contained tomatoes, radishes, oranges, green onions, cans of soup, red onions. I drank beer with them every other night until 4 or 5 a.m. The old man would pass out and the old lady and I would hold hands and I'd kiss her now and then. I always gave her a big one at the door. She was terribly wrinkled, but she couldn't help that. She was Catholic and looked cute when she put on her pink hat and went to church on Sunday morning. I met Lydia Vance at my first poetry reading. It was a bookstore on Kenmore Avenue, the drawbridge. Again, I was terrified. Superior, yet terrified. When I walked in, there was a standing room only. Peter, who ran the store and was living with a black girl, had a pile of cash in front of him. Shit, he said to me. If I could always pack them in like this, I'd have enough money to take another trip to India. I walked in and they began applauding. As far as poetry readings were concerned, I was about to bust my cherry. I read 30 minutes, then called a break. I was still sober and I could still feel the eyes staring at me from out of the dark. A few people came up and talked to me. Then during a lull, Lydia Vance walked up. I was sitting at a table drinking beer. She put both hands on the edge of the table, bent over and looked at me. She had long brown hair, quite long, a prominent nose, and one eye that didn't quite match the other. But she projected vitality. You knew that she was there. I could feel the vibrations running between us. Some of the vibrations were confused and were not good, but they were there. She looked at me and I looked back. Lydia Vance had on a suede cowgirl jacket with a fringe around the neck. Her breasts were good, and I told her, I'd like to rip that fringe off your jacket. We could begin there. Lydia walked off. It hadn't worked. I never knew what to say to the ladies. But she had a behind. I watched that beautiful behind as she walked away. The seat of her blue jeans cradled it, and I watched it as she walked away. I finished the second half of the reading and forgot about Lydia, just as I forgot about the women I passed on the sidewalks. I took my money, signed some napkins, some pieces of paper, then left and drove back home. I was still working each night on the first novel. I never started writing until 6:18 p.m. That was when I used to punch in at the terminal annex post office. It was 6 p.m. when they arrived, Peter and Lydia Vance. I opened the door. Peter said, "Look, Henry, look what I've brought you." Lydia jumped up on the coffee table. Her blue jeans fit tighter than ever. She flung her long brown hair from side to side. She was insane. She was miraculous. For the first time, I considered the possibility of actually making love to her. She began reciting poetry, her own. It was very bad. Peter tried to stop her. No rhyming poetry in Chinaski's house. Let her go, Peter. I wanted to watch her buttocks. She strode up and down that old coffee table. Then she danced. She waved her arms. The poetry was terrible. The body and the madness, not so much. Lydia jumped down. How'd you like it, Henry? What? The poetry? Hardly. Lydia stood there with her sheets of poetry in her hand. Peter grabbed her. Let's fuck, he said to her. Come on, let's fuck. She pushed him off. All right, Peter said, then I'm leaving. So leave. I've got my car, Lydia said. I can get back to my place. Peter ran to the door. He stopped and turned. All right, Chinaski, don't forget what I brought you. He slammed the door and was gone. Lydia sat down on the couch near the door. I sat about a foot away from her. I looked at her and she looked marvellous. I was afraid. I reached out and touched her long hair. The hair was magic. I pulled my hand away. Is all that hair really yours? I asked. I knew it was. Yes, she said, it is. I put my hand under her chin and very awkwardly I tried to turn her head towards mine. I was not confident in these situations. I kissed her lightly. Lydia jumped up. I've got to go. I'm paying a babysitter. Look, I said, stay. I'll pay. Just stay a while. No, I can't, she said. I have to go. She walked to the door. I followed her. She opened the door. Then she turned. I reached for her one last time. She lifted up her face and gave me the tiniest kiss. Then she pulled away and put some typed papers in my hand. The door closed. I sat on the couch with the papers in my hand and listened to her car start. The poems were stapled together and called Her. I read some of them. They were interesting, full of humour and sexuality, but badly written. They were by Lydia and her three sisters, all so jolly and brave and sexy together. I threw them away and opened a pint of whiskey. It was dark outside. The radio played mostly Mozart and Brahms and the bee. A day or so later, I got a poem in the mail from Lydia. It was a long poem and it began, "Come out, old troll. Come out of your dark hole, old troll. Come out into the sunlight with us and let us put daisies in your hair." The poem went on to tell me how good it would feel to dance in the fields with female fawn creatures who would bring me joy and true knowledge. I put the letter in a dresser drawer. I was awakened the next morning by a knocking on the glass panes of my front door. It was 10:30 a.m. "Go away," I said. "It's Lydia." All right, wait a minute. I put on a shirt and some pants and opened the door. Then I ran to the bathroom and vomited. I tried to brush my teeth but only vomited again. The sweetness of the toothpaste turned my stomach. I came out. "You're sick," Lydia said. "Do you want me to leave?" "Oh, no, I'm all right. I always wake up like this." Lydia looked good. The light came through the curtains and shone on her. She had an orange in her hand and was tossing it in the air. The orange spun through the sunlit morning. "I can't stay," she said, "but I want to ask you something." "Sure." "I'm a sculptress. I want to sculpt your head." "All right." "You'll have to come to my place. I don't have a studio. We'll have to do it at my place. That won't make you nervous, will it?" "No." I wrote down her address and instructions how to get there. "Try to show up by 11 in the morning. The kids come home from school in the mid-afternoon and it's distracting." "I'll be there at 11, I told her. I sat across from Lydia in her breakfast nook. Between us was a large mound of clay. She began asking questions. "Are your parents still alive?" "No." "You like LA?" "It's my favourite city." "Why do you write about women the way you do?" "Like what?" "You know." "No, I don't." Well, I think it's a damn shame that a man who writes as well as you just doesn't know anything about women. I didn't answer. Damn it. What did Lisa do with? She began searching the room. Oh, little girls who run off with their mother's tools. Lydia found another one. I'll make this one do. Hold still now, relax, but hold still. I was facing her. She worked at the mound of clay with a wooden tool tipped with a loop of wire. She waved the tool at me over the mound of clay. I watched her. Her eyes looked at me. They were large, dark brown. Even her bad eye, the one that didn't quite match the other one, looked good. I looked back at Lydia. Lydia worked. Time passed. I was in a trance. And then she said, how about a break? Care for a beer? Fine, yeah. When she got up to go to the refrigerator, I followed her. She got the bottle out and closed the door. As she turned, I grabbed her around the waist and pulled her to me. I put my mouth and body against hers. She held the beer bottle out at arm's length with one hand. I kissed her again, and then Lydia pushed me away. All right, she said, enough. We have work to do. We sat back down, and I drank my beer while Lydia smoked a cigarette, the clay between us. Then the doorbell rang. Lydia got up. A fat woman stood there with frantic, pleading eyes. This is my sister, Gwendoline. Hi. Gwendoline pulled up a chair and started talking. She could talk. If she was a sphinx, she could have talked. If she was a stone, she could have talked. I wonder when she'd get tired of talking and leave. Even after I stopped listening, it was like being battered with tiny ping pong balls. Gwendoline had no concept of time or any idea that she might be intruding. She talked on and on. Listen, I said finally, when are you going to leave? Then a sister act began. They began talking to each other. They were both standing up, waving their arms at each other, their voices pitched higher. They threatened each other with physical harm. At last, near the world's end, Gwendoline did a gigantic twist of torso and flung herself out of the doorway. The large flap bang of the screen door and was gone, but still heard, ignited and bemoaning, down to her apartment in the back of the court. Lydia and I walked back to the breakfast nook and sat down. She picked up her sculptor's tool. Her eyes looked into mine. One morning, a few days later, I entered Lydia's courtyard as she was walking in from the alley. She'd been over to see her friend Tina, who lived in an apartment across the house on the corner. She looked electric that morning, much like the first time she'd come over with the orange. Ooh, she said, you've got a new shirt on. It was true. I had bought a new shirt because I was thinking about her and thinking about seeing her. I knew that she knew that and was making fun of me, yet I didn't mind. Lydia unlocked the door and we went inside. The clay sat in the centre of the breakfast nook, under the breakfast nook table, under a wet cloth. She pulled the cloth off. What do you think? Lydia hadn't spared me. The scars were there, the alcoholic nose, the monkey mouth, the eyes narrowed to slits, and there was that dumb, pleased grin of a happy man, ridiculous, feeling his luck and wondering why. She was 30 and I was over 50, and I didn't care. Yeah, I said, you've got me down. I like it, but it looks almost finished. I'm going to be depressed when it's done. There have been some great mornings and afternoons. Has it interfered with your writing? No, I only write after it gets dark. I can never write in the day. Lydia picked up her modelling tool and looked at me. Don't worry, I have a lot more work to do. I want to get this one right. At her first break, she got a pint of whiskey out of the refrigerator. Ah, I said. How much? She asked, holding up the tall water glass. Half and half. She fixed the drink and I drank it right down. I've heard about you, she said. Like what? About how you throw guys off your front porch, that you beat your women. Beat my women? Yes, somebody told me. I grabbed Lydia and we went into our longest kiss ever. I held her against the edge of the sink and began rubbing my cock against her. She pushed me away, but I caught her again in the centre of the kitchen. Lydia's hands reached for mine and I pushed it down the front of her jeans and into her panties. One fingertip felt the top of her cunt. She was wet and I continued to kiss her as I worked my finger down into her cunt. Then I pulled my hand out, broke away, got the pint and poured myself another drink. I sat back down at the breakfast nook table and Lydia went round the other side, sat down and looked at me. She began working the clay again. I drank my whiskey slowly. Look, I said, I know your tragedy. What? I know your tragedy. What do you mean? Listen, I said, just forget it. I want to know. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I want to know what the hell you're talking about. Okay, give me another drink and I'll tell you. All right. Lydia took my empty glass and gave me a half whiskey, half water. I drank it down again. Well, she asked. Hell, you know. Know what? You've got a big pussy. What? It's not uncommon. You've had 2 children. Lydia sat silently working on the clay. Then she laid down her tool. She walked over to the corner of the kitchen near the back door. I watched her bend down and pull her boots off. Then she pushed down her jeans and her panties. Her cunt was right there looking at me. All right, bastard, she said. I'm going to show you you're wrong. I took off my shoes, pants and shorts. I got down on my knees on the linoleum floor and then eased down on top of her, stretching out. I began to kiss her. I hardened quickly and felt myself penetrate her. I began to stroke. 1, 2, 3. There was a knock at the front door. It was a child's knock. Tiny fists, frantic, persistent. Lydia quickly pushed me off. It's Lisa. She didn't go to school today. She's been over at... Lydia jumped up and began pulling her clothes on. Get dressed, she said to me. I got dressed as quickly as I could. Lydia went to the door and there was her 5-year-old daughter. Mummy, I cut my finger. I wandered into the front room. Lydia had Lisa on her lap. Oh, let Mummy see. Let Mummy kiss your finger. Mummy will make it better. But Mummy, it hurts. I looked at the cut. It was almost invisible. Look, I told Lydia finally. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm sorry, she said. I know. Lisa looked up at me. The tears were coming and coming. Lisa won't let anything bad happen to her mama, Lydia said. I opened the door, closed the door, and walked to my 1962 Mercury Comet. I was editing a little magazine at the time, The Laxative Approach. I had 2 co-editors and we felt we were printing the best poets of our time, although some of the other kind. One of the editors was a 6'2" subnormal high school dropout, Kenneth Mullock, black, who was supported partly by his mother and partly by his sister. The other editor was Sammy Levinson, Jewish, 27, who lived with his parents as was supported by them. The sheets were printed. Now we had to collate them and staple them into covers. What do you do? Said Sammy. No, what you do, said Sammy, is throw a collating party. You serve drinks and a little bullshit and let them do the work. I hate parties, I said. I'll do the inviting, said Sammy. All right, I said, and I invited Lydia. The night of the party, Sammy arrived with the sheets already collated. He was a nervous sort with a head tick, and he hadn't been able to wait to see his own poems in print. He had collated the laxative approach all by himself, and then stapled the covers on. Kenneth Mullock was not to be found. He was probably either in jail or had been committed. People arrived. I knew very few of them. People arrived. I knew very few of them. I walked to my landlady's in the back court. She came to the door. I'm having a big party, Mrs. O'Keefe. I want you and your husband to come. Plenty of beer, pretzels and chips. Oh my God, no. What's the matter? I've seen the people going in there, those beards and all that hair and all those raggedy ass clothes, bracelets and beads. They look like a bunch of communists. How can you stand people like that? I can't stand those people either, Mrs. O'Keefe. We just drink beer and talk. It doesn't mean anything. You watch them. That kind will steal the plumbing. She closed the door. Lydia arrived late. She came through the door like an actress. The first thing I noticed was a large cowboy hat with a lavender feather pinned to the side. She didn't speak to me, but immediately sat down next to a young bookstore clerk and began an intense conversation with him. I began drinking more heavily, and some of the drive and humour left my conversation. The bookstore clerk was a good enough sort, trying to be a writer. His name was Randy Evans, but he was too far into Kafka to accomplish any kind of literary clarity. We had published him in the laxative approach rather than hurt his feelings, and also to get distribution for the magazine through his bookstore. I drank my beer and wandered around. I walked out the back porch, sat on the stoop in the alley and watched a large black cat trying to get into the garbage can. I walked down towards him. He leapt off the garbage can as I approached. He stood 3 or 4 feet away watching me. I took the lid off the garbage can. The stench was horrible. I puked into the can. I dropped the lid on the pavement. The cat leapt up, stood, all 4 feet together on the rim of the can. He hesitated. Then, brilliant under a half moon, he leapt into it all. Lydia was still talking to Randy, and I noticed that under the table, one of her feet was touching one of Randy's. I opened another beer. Sammy had the crowd laughing. I was a little better at it than he was when I wanted to get the crowd laughing, but I wasn't very good that night. There were 15 or 16 men and 2 women, Lydia and April. April was on ATD and fat. She was stretched out on the floor. After an hour or so, she got up and left with Carl, a burned out speed freak. That left 15 or 16 men and Lydia. I found a pint of scotch in the kitchen, took it out the back porch, and had a bite now and again. The men began leaving gradually as the night went on. Even Randy Evans left. Finally, there was only Sammy, Linda, and myself. Sammy, Lydia, and myself. Lydia was talking to Sammy. Sammy said some funny things. I was able to laugh. Then he said he had to go. Please don't go, Sammy, said Lydia. Let the kid go, I said. Yeah, I gotta go, said Sammy. After Sammy left, Lydia said, you didn't have to drive him away. Sammy's funny. Sammy's really funny. You hurt his feelings. But I want to talk to you alone, Lydia. I enjoy your friends. I don't get to meet all kinds of people the way you do. I like people. I don't. I know you don't, but I do. People come to see you. Maybe if they didn't come to see you, you'd like them better. No, the less I see them, the better I like them. You hurt Sammy's feelings. Oh shit, he's gone home to his mother. You're jealous. You're insecure. You think I want to go to bed with every man I talk to. No, I don't. Listen, how about a little drink? I got up and mixed her one. Lydia lit a long cigarette and sipped at her drink. You sure look good in that hat, I said. That purple feather is something. It's my father's hat. Won't he miss it? He's dead. I pulled Lydia over to the couch and gave her a long kiss. She told me about her father. He had died and left all 4 sisters a bit of money that had enabled them to be independent and that had enabled Lydia to divorce her husband. She also told me she had some kind of breakdown and had spent time in a madhouse. I kissed her again. Look, I said, let's just lay down on the bed. I'm tired. To my surprise, she followed me into the bedroom. I stretched out on the bed and felt her sit down. I closed my eyes and could tell she was pulling her boots off. I heard one boot hit the floor, then the other. I began to undress on the bed. I reached up and shut off the overhead light. I continued undressing. We kissed some more. How long's it been since you've had a woman? 4 years. 4 years. Yeah. I think you deserve some love, she said. I had a dream about you. You opened your chest like a cabinet. It had doors. And when I opened the doors, I saw all kind of soft things inside you, like teddy bears, tiny fuzzy animals, all these soft cuddly things. Then I had a dream about this other man. He walked up to me and handed me some pieces of paper. He was a writer. I took the pieces of paper and looked at them, and the pieces of paper had cancer. The writing had cancer. I go by my dreams. You deserve some love. We kissed again. Listen, she said, after you stick that thing inside me, pull it out just before you come, okay? I understand. I climbed on top of her. It was good. It was really something happening, something real, and with a girl 20 years younger than I, and really, really, after all, beautiful. I did about 10 strokes and came inside her. She leapt up. You son of a bitch, you came inside me. Lydia, it's been so long, it felt so good, I couldn't help it. It sneaked up on me. Honest to Christ, I couldn't help it. She ran into the bathroom and let the water run into the tub. She stood in front of the mirror, running a comb through her long brown hair. She was truly beautiful. You son of a bitch. God, what a dumb high school trick. That's high school shit. And it couldn't have happened at a worse time. Well, where's shack jobs now? Where's shack jobs? I moved towards her in the bathroom. Lydia, I love you. Get the hell away from me. She pushed me out, closed the door, and I stood out in the hall, listening to the bathwater run. Charles Bukowski, Women. It's an absolutely fantastic book. I thought that was quite an interesting new turn, did something that we haven't done before. What did we make of that, people? What did people who've never heard of Bukowski think about that? What did people who have heard of Bukowski think about that? I mean, it's a bit of a, we've still got 180 people watching, which is kind of interesting. I mean, it's a bit of a tricky thing to judge, because not only have we got the writing of Charles Bukowski, but you've got me reading it. So there's a few things going on here. I'm just having a look through some of your comments now. Let's have a look. To be honest with you, those opening, I'll tell you what, next week we could do another chapter, because I'll tell you what, that is some of the lighter stuff. It really gets very, very dark. And it's not and when I say it gets dark, it doesn't. There's no like murders or anything. It's not like one of those ridiculous things where people start cutting people open or anything. But just the way these people in his novels engage with each other, it's like a level of bleak that you just can't comprehend. Good call, Steve. These are interesting comments. I'll tell you what, Steve. Just reading that, then I was quite aware of some rhythmic and similar kind of meters to the sentences, for sure. I'm just reading what people are saying. Oh, that's lovely, Gaffney. Thank you. You predicted it, Mouse Cat. You saw it coming, literally and figuratively. These are interesting. Oh, nice one, Rags. Oh, nice one, Rags. Nice one, John. I thought Barfly was a bit jank, to be honest. There's some nice moments in it, but... Oh, thank you, Steve. Oh, that's lovely. Well, look, give me a 1 in the chat if you want me to do the next bit, one stream next week. Maybe that'll be the Wednesday night session. I will read to you, and we'll get through the whole of women, and then I'll pick up. There you go, Bunny Shonis. All right, and then people know what to expect, and if they don't fancy it, because the book Women, it changed my life, and okay, there's enough ones. I'll do it just for that amount of people. All right, lovely. That is very reassuring. Nice one. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, Barfly is awful. For people who don't know, Barfly is a movie made about Bukowski's life, or a small bit of his life, played by Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke doesn't do a bad job, but it's gross, man. It's like the publishers break into his house and take photos of his writing. It's like, wow, this man's a genius. And he's not a genius. He's a storyteller, that's all. And don't get me wrong, storytellers are relevant and significant and necessary, but that's all he is. You know, it's like breaking into someone's tool shed and going, "Oh, look, he's a carpenter. Take some pictures of his dovetail joints." It's just like, grow up, you know. And that's myth making, and myth making is disgusting. You know, the classic myth is Robert Johnson, isn't it? Robert Johnson couldn't play the guitar, the blues, went down to the crossroads. The devil said to him, "Give me your soul and you'll be able to play the best damn blues ever." You know, myth making's disgusting because it takes away from what the person actually is. Robert Johnson's just a blues guitar player. Don't have to pretend he sold his soul to the devil. It's nonsense. And Barfly does exactly that to Bukowski, makes him out to be he's just a storyteller. And when I say he's just a storyteller, that's what actually makes him excellent, because we need storytellers. I didn't know that. What character does Bukowski play in Barfly? One of the coppers or something? There is that good bit in Barfly. I think it's from Factotum, where he's covered in blood. He's got a bottle of scotch and a meat cleaver, and he gets a knock at the door. He opens it. He's covered in blood. Meat cleaver, bottle of whiskey, and the police go, "Are you all right, mate?" And he goes, "Yeah, why wouldn't I be?" That's very interesting. Well, once we get through this one, we can do something quite different, but that's very kind of you. He plays himself in a bar, but Mickey Rourke is playing himself in a bar. I don't know. I kind of get what you mean. Yeah, it's not a good film though, Barfly. Too much to it. I wouldn't. You know, I was disappointed. Yeah, I will do. It'll be the Wednesday afternoon session. There's a donation come through there and I can't see it. CR for reading to me. An absolute pleasure. I'm surprised that there's so many of you still here. It's lovely. There you go. That's exactly what it is. The Wednesday afternoon Scrubs Book Club. Thank you, CR. That's very kind of you. Tony Sanchez, are you sitting comfortably? Then Mr. D will begin. But I can tell you there's plenty of books I can give you a little bit of background on them beforehand, so we're not just going into I am being bitten by mosquitoes. Where's me tiger balm? There she is. Poor old Illuminatus is going to get proper pissed though, isn't he? I bet he disappeared after the first line. Why is there no dragons? Why is there no monsters and swords? Well, that would have appeared to have been more of a success than I thought. We didn't. Oh, that's a double bubble. We didn't actually lose anyone, which is good. Right, we've done that one. Hang on. We'll just deal with. Funny you should say that, Brian, because I already gave myself the once over before we started tonight, so I don't know how that little bugger's got through. I mean, I don't like to use too much D. I tend to do a few little spots rather than the sort of, the full body cover, but one of them's actually got in there, which is annoying. Thank you, Brian. And also, while we're on the subject, you should really. It's very kind of you to make some donations, people. That's appreciated. Let me just. I will have this sorted by next week as well, so I won't have to keep doing this. Oh, that's another one as well. Bollocks. Oh, okay. I'll have a look at that later. It's like William Burroughs' is William Burroughs makes a cameo in Drugstore Cowboy. If you haven't seen Drugstore Cowboy, people, and you like a good drug movie, probably the best one. Makes Trainspotting look like the cartoon it is. Margin Walker said, "Did you see the film Factotum? I prefer it to Barfly. It's directed by a Norwegian fella. It's a bit arty, but it captures the essence of Bukowski more." I have seen it, Margin Walker, but so long ago, I do not remember it. I do not remember it. I remember when I think about it, I can see him in like a, you know, they're all drilling. They're in like some kind of workshop, and you know, it's a lot of sort of boring, repetitive manual labour. Chrissy said, "Thank you, enjoyed that. Looking forward to the next reading." Lovely. I'm really surprised. I'm blown away. We didn't lose any viewers. Well, we might have done, but some others turned up. We've done all that one. Done that one. So I'll tell you what, we'll do Women by Bukowski, and then we'll do The Man with the Golden Arm, Nelson Algren. So after Women, we'll do The Man with the Golden Arm, Nelson Algren. Nelson Algren had a 20-year love affair with Simone de Beauvoir, who was, what's his name's bit of fluff? What's his name? The existentialist writer, French. Oh, come on. The only one anyone knows. Come on, who was it? Who was Simone de Beauvoir knocking off? See you later, Steve. Yeah, that's right, Sartre. Nice one. Yeah, Jean-Paul Sartre's Mrs. Simone de Beauvoir was having a 20-year affair with Nelson Algren, the American writer. And The Man with the Golden Arm is a bloody great book. It's right up there for me. It's right up there with David Foster Wallace for me. No, we won't be doing any Derrida. Good Lord, no. Has anyone read The Man with the Golden Arm? Nelson Algren. King Corona says Joe Biden has golden. You're right, he has. Yeah. Good call. That's brilliant. Anyone else want to give the stream a like? That would be handy. You know, look, I stream twice a day, so I think it's worth mixing it up occasionally. We've got this new photo thing we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks. We've done the yoga thing. Now we've done a bit of reading. I've still got to get a sartorial stream together. So, you know. I think it lends itself to, you know, we've made something good here, and it still seems to be improving all the time. So props to all of you. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing now. The American markets opened a couple of hours ago, so I'm going to go and have a look at that. Good Lord, Mosaic Labrador. I don't know what's happening to you, man. I don't know. I love it. I really love it. Yeah, and I think so too. You know, sometimes I'm all a bit, it's all a bit intense. And you know, if it's only once a week, it's yeah, bit of variety. AMC's gone to $14. Are you sure? What? Has it? Are you winding me up? I've got a tip for you people as well. I've got a tip for you if you're interested. Anyone on free trade? Oh, really? Yeah, that's what mine says. 840. It's not strictly 15, is it? Good Lord. Where did you get that from? Who said that? It's all very interesting. Biden is opening children concentration camps, apparently. What, the hair sniffers? All right then, people. Look, next Wednesday we'll have the next bit of women. And trust me, you know what the start of a novel's like. You've got to start establishing the tone and the characters. But trust me, that book, it really goes there. It really goes there. Come on, Chrissy, you can do it. Yeah, that's already happening. It's email me, put photos in the subject, and that's all good. That's already happening. Sorry, this was all arranged this morning. We're doing the Scrubs old relatives. So family photos, grandparents and above. So grandparents, grandparents, we all know what they are, and above. So, it could be some of those crazy old black and white ones with an awesome car in the background, or standing in front of the butcher's shop in 1920. But it can also be your nan and granddad in the Costa del Sol in 78. But, nothing younger than that. Not your mum and dad. It's got to be grandparents and above. Send them to me. Don't write anything. I don't want the fucking family history. Just write them to me and put photos, but send me the pictures and put photos in the subject. And that will be good fun. We'll be doing that in about 10 days. Okay. He sent me, I'll tell you what, Semiogog sent me an email just recently, so I'll be talking to him and we'll be doing something about semiotics soon. People, it's been an absolute pleasure. This man's got to have some rest. I will talk to you all at the crack of dawn, about 8 or 8:30 in the morning. Look after yourselves. Ta-da!
All the world loves a lover. All the girls in every land are meant to know. The joy of loving is to live in the world of man love. There's someone who's waiting for you. Soon the world will be yours for a time. Music starts to play, night will turn to day. Darkness disappears when the one you love is near. You're in man love. All the world loves the lover. All the girls in in every land of men to know. Joy of loving is to live in the world of mankind. There's a place that is waiting for you, a world where the best in life is free, where time is always spring, happiness is king. The dreams you dream come true when the one you love loves you. You're in man. All the world loves a lover. All the girls in every land of men to know. Joy of loving is to live in the world of mankind.
Well, the funny thing was, I did say a load of things actually during the quiet bit, but I forgot to take the mute off. Go on, go and check your free trade down your own end.